Hey, everybody, we are live and a big day, a huge day, really, in Oakland A's history and history for Oakland and for Las Vegas as well. A huge day, really, in Oakland A's history and history for Oakland and for Las Vegas as well. A huge day, really, in Oakland A's history and history for Oakland and for Las Vegas as well. So nice, I had to say it 3 times because it is major, and for a number of reasons. First of all, the Nevada Independent, a news site in Las Vegas that was started by a former political operative, and it reported that the Athletics had agreed to purchase from Bally's Corporation the uh, the Tropicana Las Vegas site, and they were going to use a portion of that site to build a ballpark for the Athletics. And the reason that move was done was, according to the article, was to basically save $105 million because the original need was for 500 million. And then it went on to explain that sources with knowledge of the negotiations told the Nevada Independent on Tuesday that under the scope of the deal, Bally's plan to demolish Bali's plans, to demolish the Tropicana and allow the Athletics to construct a 35,000 seat retractable roof stadium on 9 acres of land of the 34-acre site on the Tropicana Avenue, near the southern end of the Las Vegas Strip. Now, that site was the focus of work done by a man by the name of Ben Garcia, who was on this show. And if you want to revisit, first of all, what Ben's design looks like, that is right here. Actually, it's at his site called Stadium 51, but it has been all over the place. It was even featured on ESPN about a year ago, just after he was on here. But this is what his site looks like, and it's not just a drawing. Ben, who's an architect based in Los Angeles, has an entire massing study that he has done that's part of this site, which we'll get to in a little bit. But I want to now recall the conversation, at least part of it was over an hour long, that he and I had when he came on as a guest here at Zenny 62 Live. And it can be told now, and I think it should be told, that just after that conversation, I, by a text, reached out to Oakland Athletics president Dave Cobble and introduced him to Ben because I felt that the Athletics should hire him and work with him for having created such an incredible and timely concept and futuristic. And so they met. The particulars of that meeting, I think, are best for Ben to explain to the public when he is comfortable with doing so, if he is. But the reason I did it was because I didn't want Ben to be used. I didn't want his design to be out there, as has happened to me and a number of other people in the past, and have the media ignore it when someone with bigger pockets is able to discuss it or at least put it on their media sites. And that was what was happening. And so I sought to put an end to it to make absolutely certain that the person who created the design got the proper credit for it. That was why I did it. And so here is, as I call this up right now, uh, here's Ben and I when we met, and I invited him also to come back on. He was actually in the middle of baseball practice because he's a softball practice or baseball practice after work and couldn't break away. But here, let's have a review of what Ben said about his design at the time. Here's Ben Garcia and I right here. View of what Ben said, excuse me, that is not the one that I intended to use. I am so excited that I picked the wrong one, folks. That happens. So let me go back and pick the right one, because the whole thing happened so quickly that I just literally reacted. And the first thing that I do is I contacted Ben. I said, Ben, your site's on. They bought the site for your design, and so here is that right here. And now let me go back to that one, and here it is. Everybody for joining. I'm excited about what we're about to talk about here, and pleased to introduce my new friend Ben Garcia. Ben, welcome. How you doing?
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, hey, thanks for coming, man. Let me explain to everybody how this started. About, I guess, a month ago, there was this really interesting stadium design that was floating around Twitter for a minute, literally. But I think only one person mentioned part of Ben's name and not much about Ben. And it was all very cryptic. And I thought, okay. And then as fast as it was introduced, it went away. Then it came up again just about, might not go to 2 weeks after it was announced that the Athletics had put down an offer on land in Las Vegas, but they didn't say where. I asserted that based on evidence here, but primarily pointing to Phil Ruffin, that it was the Las Vegas Festival grounds. Others had other ideas, and then Contessa Brewer of MSNBC was in Secaucus, New Jersey, and met someone there who seemed to have that they thought were the dibs on what the property was, and they said it was the Tropicana Hotel owned by Bally's. That was not confirmed by the A's. None of these have been confirmed or denied by the Athletics to this point. But someone else found Ben's design and made it the focus of an article post, but they didn't mention Ben's name, which I thought was odd. However, I looked up Stadium 51. I found Ben's website. I reached out, contacted him, and immediately made this effort because I think it's criminal to introduce someone's good idea and not talk about them. I don't know where I don't even want to say evolved to in the society where that's okay. In my book, it's not okay. I think Ben's done an incredible job. I can say that there are some very important people now who are interested in what Ben has done. I'll leave it at that. And he's already on to bigger and better things, as it were. But I want you to see what other bigger and better things he has planned, because Ben has a vision for the future of baseball and the future of sports that is path-breaking. And with respect to baseball, as path-breaking as Camden Yards was when it was introduced in 1993, really technically in 1992 before it was actually built. So Ben, hey, welcome, man, and glad you're here.
Yeah, no, again, thanks for having me on. And it's been a crazy past 2 weeks or so, as you mentioned, right? 3 weeks or so, right? That's when it started surfacing around, Twitter and the internet. And it was kind of interesting, though. Everything just culminated at the right time for me, or for this thing to be shared. It started off with actually Arash Markazi. He's a reporter, and I saw he posted on Twitter saying that the Oakland A's are planning to announce a potential site in Vegas after the World Series. And after he posted that, I just said, I'm just going to reach out and message him on Twitter. I'm not big on Twitter. And so I just sent him a simple message. I said, hey, Rosh, these are a couple images. And, I think it'd be pretty cool for, a concept, for Vegas, baseball stadium to be placed here. And he said, yeah, this is great. Can I share it? And I'm like, yeah, go ahead. And that kind of started a snowball effect. And, other Twitter accounts started reaching out to me and said, can we share it? So there was a little bit of that. But then we started seeing, other reports. They started taking the image, and they didn't no credit or anything, but in a way that was kind of cool. In my opinion, I just saw my image out there. I mean, yeah, I was a little bit bummed out that I wasn't tagged in it, but nonetheless, it's just cool that it was being shared.
Yeah, you were bummed out. I was pissed. Hey, so tell my viewers how you came up with the Stadium 51 concept to begin with, and let me know when you want to share it, or you can share it as we talk.
No, for sure. I mean, look, I'm sure as like many people, right? 2020 was a difficult year for many of us. First started off with, I was laid off, unfortunately. And during that time, I said, you know what, I'm going to take everything I learned from my time at the, at the firm I was at and just apply all that knowledge. And I said, I'm going to stick it to baseball stadiums. And, it just started with a bunch of series of studies and just trying to problem solve, like what is the next generation of baseball stadiums, right? As you mentioned, right, Camden Yards was revolutionary for its time. And, it's fantastic that we're starting to see these new ballparks like Texas and Atlanta Braves, right, that they're integrating with the city that they're in. But I felt like, we need a fresher breath air, right? And so that's where this study came to be, right? We're starting to introduce a lot of roofs. And, the idea was how do we reduce the size of it? And that's what led to all these series of studies. And we can share some of those ideas right now.
Yeah, definitely. Oh, by the way, you meant breath of fresh air.
Yeah, stumbling on my words. It's late. It's Friday. It's 7 o'clock, man. I'm ready to get out.
You created a new word, fresher breath air. That's cool, man. I like that. See, you're a genius just by existing,
Let's see. How do I share this? Let's see. Entire screen. No, let's go entire screen. Okay.
Yeah, if you get, I think.
There we go.
There you go. Yeah, because this will push it all aside automatically. Oh, there it is, and it's add to string. Ta-da!
Exactly, and so this is kind of how the stadium concept we're seeing, right? The Stadium 51, the one that's being shared around. It started off with a simple idea. Now, keep in mind, it wasn't like I didn't say there wasn't a site assigned to this, right? It was, let me focus on a really cool concept. And, I felt, as you can see from this image right here, we already have the Death Star. Why not make it a starfighter? So that's kind of like where it all started from. Drawing inspirations from different stadiums and architects and different designs. And I felt like, it had to be something out there. If you're going to go crazy, why not do it in Vegas, right? It just fits the vibe.
Exactly.
And again, playing with the whole Area 51, right? It's this whole mysteriousness about it. It's like, this is perfect, right? This is a one-of-a-kind stadium. Let's play to that lore of Area 51. And again, drawing inspiration from car designs as far as, they have the appearance of looking fast, even when they're not in motion. And so I felt it was very important that the shell, the design of the ballpark itself had that aesthetics to it. And drawn inspirations from, the Sapporo Dome over in Tokyo, right? It just looks like it's out of this world, right? Just this blob, this dome. And, coming up with concept sketches and kind of getting the look and feel of it. But at the same time, keeping the interior, right, true to baseball, tying in with the classic geometric shape, right? So it's that cool contrast that really intrigued me about this whole concept, and tying it in with a pinball machine, right? It's a very simple box design if you think about it, but in the inside it's very creative and cool. And so anyways, let's get to the final images, right? And wow. This is the one, right, that people are talking about at the moment. And that's again, yeah, and again, look, it wasn't never intended for this site. It was more for like an open plot of land, like you see here, right? This is further south, where you would have future development, right, take place and build itself around this foreign shape, right?
That was actually the original site for what is now Legion Stadium off I-15.
This was the original site, or this was the proposed site, really?
That was the original proposed site. Yeah, there's an artist rendition of the stadium right there. Yeah.
That's a good, yeah, it's a good spot. I saw it, and I'm like, hey, it's open piece of land. Why not, right? And you can imagine, right, future development taking place, all around it. Because I mean, either the ballparks that we're seeing today they're starting to plug into the existing conditions, right? Mm-hmm. Whereas we're no longer seeing like the cookie cutter stadiums that are out in the middle of a parking lot. Right now, it's tying into the urban city conditions, right? And this is kind of going against that, right? Mm-hmm. This is taking another look at, hey, well, why not start with the shell, start off with the design, and build off of that.
Well, by the way, just to give people an idea where if you go back one, if that's possible, where we are in reality is Allegiant Stadium is actually up at Freeways I-15. It is up 4 stops, and yeah, if actually where you're circling it right there, that's where it is. So they would actually be, if it were there, forming kind of a sports corridor, interestingly. Go ahead, Ben. Just wanted to point that out.
No, for sure. And I actually wanted to share this real quick with you guys. Not this, it's this one right here. So I just like a quick Photoshop of it, and I moved it right into the Tropicana.
That's cool. Man. That is cool. That, you know what? That would be one of the most photographed structures in the entire world if it were built.
And it's also like, I thought it would be so cool for, not just, for a sporting event, but even like opportunities for, movies, right? Like you could imagine this coming out, in like a space movie or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. I just thought it was just so cool. I'd love to see this.
Yeah, that it is it's really captures the imagination, and mm-hmm. it forms a kind of a venue device that you want to go up to and see. You want to go across the street to see what it's all about.
Oh, for sure. And, and what's kind of funny is, right, like this is the Strip, and the reason why it's orientated this way, right, is the backside of it. This would be the space right here. Mm-hmm. So the roof, right, during game time, right, you could have it closed, or if you want it open, right, this is open air. And then you could have it closed, and again, it's just that really cool space. This would be right on the Strip, right? I think it's very important to have that open, space for concerts or pre-game festivities to take place.
So, give us an idea. What is that space doing? Is that kind of a meeting area before you go in, or what is that? In the scheme of things.
I mean, this is once again, right? Like I always felt that the home plate entrance is always the ceremonial, like right, open door, right? Like this takes you to the game. But however, we're starting to see, you enter from right field or you enter from the third base corner, right? There isn't a very big emphasis on the home plate presence, and so I felt, by changing the orientation of the field, and again making home plate this ceremonial entryway, right, I think is very important, and it's easy as far as like wayfinding, right? You know where to go in, you know where to come out, you know where you are in the scheme of things, right? You're not lost looking, where's the exit? Oh, where did I park? It's like, okay, no, let's go behind home plate. That's where the entrance is. Very simple approach to it. Let's see.
Something else. Wow. That part, folks.
And again, like with this concept, I went, I had plenty of time to like fully flesh this out, or, have actual dimensions to it. We know how many seats there are. It works for baseball, like as far as like outfield dimensions, seating, we're right at that 30,000 to 35,000 seat capacity. And again, it's all about the image, the shape of it, right? Just trying to capture something completely different, right? Out of this world aesthetics to it that, you wouldn't think this is a baseball stadium.
And yet,
that's the goal. What was that?
And yet, I was just going to say, it really, if you think of Allegiant Stadium as sort of the context, because in Vegas, I think it's easier to form your own context, don't you think? But if Allegiant Stadium is setting the tone for the kind of sleek sports design where it's like a race car, this takes that and really, instead of making a race car, it makes it a spaceship. It takes the Death Star as you were presenting. It really forms it into a nice kind of design theme that might set the tone for facilities in the future in Las Vegas.
I mean, and right, like this is Vegas. You have the Eiffel Tower, you have the Statue of Liberty. I mean, I feel like you can do that kind of stuff in Vegas, man. And, whether you love it or hate it, and I think it just fits perfectly. I mean,
that's what I was getting at in terms of saying that it, sets its own context because that's right. You didn't know this. I actually started off in architecture school, but we talked about context, right? With Vegas, you can really build your own context. You can be your own context, huh?
No, for sure, right? Like again, I wanted to have fun with this, and I think this is by far one of my favorite designs that I've done so far.
Talk about this one. What is this particular?
No, for sure. Right. So starting off, right, we just wanted to see. Well, I wanted to see like how can you strip down the stadium in general, right? Like what is like the bare minimum you would need, right? And this, let me go back to explain this a little bit.
Sure. Yeah.
I have diagrams for this, but it's important to actually start from the beginning. I'll go here. So here, it started off with this simple diagram, right? And this simple question, right? Like, what do every ballpark, what do they have in common, right? What's common is like they have like this grandstand in the background, and then you have the central vision, which is the outfield backdrop, right? The only thing that makes each stadium like very unique and different is that outfield backdrop. And I felt like, let's expand our peripheral vision, right? Like, what about the left corner? What about the right corner, right? Beyond the foul poles, right? Let's start to explore, the possibilities there of creating different seating amenities, different products, right? That way you have a different experience if you were sitting in third base side or the first base side, right? It's like, now we have 4 different zones or potentially 8 different zones if you want to get technical with like center field, right field, left corner, right corner, first base, third base, and then home plate, right? You're creating 8 unique possibilities, right? And again, right here, this diagram, it's explaining that concept again, right? You have 2 different zones. This is traditional ballparks. And right here, you have a Safeco Field or AT&T Park, I believe it's called, or T-Mobile Park, I believe it's called.
In Seattle, where the Mariners play.
Exactly. And that roof span is about 660. So, keeping it very simple, it's like, okay, smaller roof is going to be less cost, right? And that is what this diagram is explained right here. If you take the roof, you rotate it, you compress it, you're going to subtract the 2 zones. Now you have created 4 unique zones. And not only that, but you've also reduced the cost of your roof.
That's a brilliant idea, Ben.
So exactly. So not only, right, like you're just rechanging the way we look at the parks, right? And so with that, let's go back to here to kind of you'll see it clearly now, right? Again, there's 4 unique zones to it, or you can say 8, right? Home plate, first base side, the right corner, right field center, so on and so forth. All right, and then again, I wanted to go with like this arc structure. I felt, let's get rid of the columns, right? This is drawing inspiration from the Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Park, or was AT&T Stadium, right, for the Cowboys play. And they have this same system, except the arc structures are a lot closer.
Yeah.
What's also interesting though is their roof slopes about 25 degrees. And to pull that roof right back up, all you need is a Corvette engine, which is pretty insane. And the slope on these arch structures is about 15 degrees. So look, now, we're less, so we have the technology, we can do something as such, right? And the beauty of this is, again, you don't have any columns. So those corners, right, you can move the structure in closer and have seats underneath, and you won't have any columns obstructing your view.
I think if this were built, that would probably be one of the longest continuous truss spans in the world.
Potentially, I believe it's almost like 700. I think 700 feet.
Okay, yeah, I think. Let me think.
I mean, it'll be pretty close though, because the Cowboy Stadium is pretty big.
Yeah, Texans is 962 feet.
Yeah, so it'd be interesting to do, right?
Yeah.
I mean, not only that though, but like even here at this center point, you could get away with putting a column in the middle if you really wanted to.
And it's not. When I say that, folks, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. It's just a matter of just being a sort of a nerd about this. that's all. and also just to marvel at how our technology has allowed this kind of structure to be built. And then you see the finished product here. What is that sheathing? Because we're in this era where we have the kind of is this the kind of material that's used on the Raiders Stadium and SoFi Stadium, or is this different?
Oh, definitely can. I mean, look, this is, as we all know, this is a conceptual design, but definitely keeping that in mind that this is Vegas heat, right? So definitely have to, be prepared for that, that climate. And you don't want it to be also reflective either. I mean, you can only imagine the problems that would cause. So some kind of like clean metal for sure.
It almost looks like an armadillo,
And see, that's the one thing I like is, people have like different interpretation of what this thing looks, and that's the goal, right? It's, some people say, hey, this thing looks like a shark. This thing looks like a what is it? A cockroach killer, right? Like
I was thinking armadillo because of the heat issue. It has the shell,
yeah.
And then you see armadillos in the desert, right?
Exactly. So hey, see and that's cool, right? Like you have like you see it as one way, other people see it another way, and I think that's great. It lets people use their imagination.
Yeah, and it's functional. It was what I like about it. It looks to me, they say form follows function. It looks like it was built so that you could enjoy baseball,
even for sure.
And step into this new world.
For sure. Also, like as you can tell by like the roof structure, right? It's purposely, it has these fins on it, right? And that is to allow natural lighting, because at the same time, right, if you're playing inside a dome, I mean, it's not the best, and you would like at least some sort of natural lighting coming through. But at the same time, you have to be well aware that, the players, right, they can lose the ball if it goes up in the roof, and then you have like the structure and then the sun getting it's going to cause the players to lose the ball once it goes up. So the way the fins are angled is for that purpose. So the outfielders will not lose the ball, but at the same time, the fans, they'll have a view out to the sky. So, and that was actually inspired from the DeLorean.
Is that right? Yeah.
Yeah, the back of it. Again, like there's some car inspiration behind this. Now, also one little note, do I really think that this is the best conceptual design or, the skin for this for this stadium? I don't think so. I think a car designer can come in and do a far better job than I can. However, I will say that, it was because, we set up this new chassis, if you will, right, that allows people to have that creativity of now going in and molding it, right? The hard part was trying to figure out, right, how do we compress the stadium? How do we make it to a compact size to allow for the roof to be reduced and have the symmetrical look to it? So now
I'm sorry. What I found fascinating, I was going to ask on the forward-most portion of that photograph, in what appears to be this lobby area, this inside, actually down a bit, right? It's like this clear. It's on the I want to say the most forward part of it on the side, and
right here.
Yeah, right there, right there. That right there is that. What is that, an entrance area? It looks like it's a lot of space that could be for a food court. What you're thinking about that space?
Sure.
It's pretty cool.
Oh yeah, it's cool. It's to have 4 entryway points to enter the ballpark. You have the main ceremonial home plate entrance, and then you got the right corner, left corner, and then outfield, of course. But also if you wanted to have retail shops, right, something on the side, you definitely can. So again, it really activates this home plate entrance again, right, where you have these shops surrounding it. Um, so yeah, that was that's the idea for that.
I'm ready when you are to go on, or else you want to, yeah. Cool.
Oh, for sure. Now the rest are just like fly-through images of the model itself, and just like rethinking about what is a VIP entrance for home plate, right? Where the dugout is actually separated, where you're actually able to come to the club, walk through, come to the other side. Here's
I'm going to stop that there, and the reason is that Ben had told me via text that he had a separate section for that specific design, and I'm going to focus on that one because that design is the linchpin, the hallmark, the raison d'etre for his website, his creation, calling it Stadium 51. And what he asked me to do is we texted earlier today. He wrote that I should emphasize the Tropicana Hotel Stadium Overlay Study. And so that's going to be my next presentation to you right now. And I'm going to go there because you'll have a better idea of how this is going to look on the Tropicana site from overhead as been intended for people to see it. And okay, of course, this is the website itself. And in order to keep you from getting dizzy, I'm going to leave this up with me and then scroll down so you don't wind up flying by. Although I think, you know what, I do think it's worth that you see this because this is if you haven't been to Ben's site before, it is quite a beautiful layout. It's called Las Vegas Major League Baseball Stadium, as you can see. And he writes, baseball stadium with a twist. This isn't your classic ballpark. Out of this world exterior with classic baseball interior. Elegant, clean, mysterious on the outside, a wild party inside, ready for takeoff. Perfect landing spot for in Las Vegas, Nevada. A great addition for a growing baseball fan base. You have the Eiffel Tower, Statue of Liberty, a giant pyramid, and the Death Star, which is, of course, Legion Stadium, now a starfighter. And that's how he thinks it is. You have the Death Star and a starfighter. And this is the different various places he put it, but he has a specific massing concept for Tropicana that I'm scrolling down to right now because that is specific to what the Athletics have just done in terms of purchasing that site. And here we go. It reads Tropicana Hotel Stadium Overlay Study. And so what you're looking at is here, as I circle it, this is the Tropicana site as it looks right now for all practical purposes. Okay. Now then he's got, and that's on the upper, if you're trying to figure out where my cursor is, maybe you can't see it because of the contrast. It is of the 6 windows, it's the one on the upper left-hand corner. All right. Whereas Tropicana, but it's below and to the left. And that's what looks like is there now. Now, if we go over here, remember the Athletics have been instructed to tear down what's there right now. So in the second middle upper window panel, we have the first creation, the first massing, the first stadium overlay that Ben has laid out for that site. And that features, as you can tell, you see, retractable roof design, and with the stadium, the layout as it is offered, and you can see the layout of the baseball diamond within that. The next one is on the extreme right upper, and that has a different massing study with the entire stadium essentially turned 45 degrees. Here, that's over here. Okay. And then below, the third one takes that and actually turns it another 45 degrees. Now, the fourth one here is a difference in terms of there are very subtle differences here that are that don't meet the eye, but if you look closer compared to the one that we just came from, the difference has to do slightly with the layout of the entrance in here. Just barely here versus here. Okay, these are different layouts of this VIP entrance concept that he talked about. Now, the final one here has more developed area here, as if the hotel was maintained and almost mates with the ballpark. So that's his stadium overlay study there. Now, for the Tropicana site, hotel site. And he also remarked that, let's see here, I believe he has other pages here as well, but, and I can't get him, he's basically doing his thing there, if you will. But yeah, but he said that it's overlay also with Safeco. All right. So he said it was something I should talk to if I'll talk through if I would like. And that's what I'm doing. But the bottom line is this concept has been up for about a year and more than over a year. And as I understand it, the original idea was for the Athletics to hire the group that Ben is employed by, but they didn't have a large enough staff to help the A's. But now, with this site having been purchased and the obvious excitement that this generates, it's a whole new ball game. All right, it really is a whole new ball game. Now, this has been thinking about different ways to lay out the baseball configuration within the armadillo structure, and he come up with some other ideas as well. That's the primary one, though. This one that he had developed, and the one that you've seen, so many thousands of times. This one, if it comes through, yeah, this one, and I do hope this becomes the design. This, as you're looking at it, is hopefully what will wind up being built there. Now, as I eyeball it, I think one issue that will have to be worked out is one of flood and drainage. And so I think the entryway will have to be lifted just a little bit, maybe like 5 feet. Um, and so that you can properly drain the water away from it, because the rest of the structure is sunken into the ground, as you can tell, and it's going to, what you're looking at right now, knowing that site area as I do, there is not a fair amount. It's probably arguably an inordinate amount of caliche down there. It's going to have to be exploded if you want to go down. That's common. That was what the Raiders experienced at Allegiant Stadium, what is now called Allegiant Stadium, on that site, not too far away from there. But the good news is that making that site buildable and going down is easy. It's already with something on it. And so that's not going to be a problem at all. I'm simply pointing out a design construction malady that they're going to have to deal with, but they certainly are able to do so. In thought, though, I have to say this stadium will be as much a want to be seen edifice as MSG Sphere will be just down this up the street in the strip and not too far away, or Allegiant Stadium. And this will help usher in an era where sports facilities, entertainment facilities are in and of themselves attractions, and in Las Vegas, and they're literally competing against each other for eyeballs, and that's the situation the Athletics will be in. So I would be surprised if Dave Cowell and company didn't at least give Ben a call and say, hey, you know what? Let's revisit that idea of bringing you in, because Ben had the right idea. He had the right idea about Las Vegas. No one else has introduced anything in an edition regarding what the Athletics could build there that is as exciting as this by any means. And it's a true game changer in its way. It will be, in fact, this will be, if it is built, as much a game changer in baseball ballpark design as Camden Yards was when it was completed in 1993. So I'm going to work to get Ben back on, and I don't know if he has a comment he wants to make, but I did give him a invite. But right now he's probably wanting to stay silent. um, and it's a great day to present his design. And if you have any questions, please put them in the comments, and I'll make sure that he gets them. And but meanwhile, please thank you very much for joining me to take another look at this exciting design and what Ben has done. Incredible job, a very timely and incredible job that is an example of the man meeting the moment. Subscribe to Zenny62 and bookmark oaklandnewsnowblog.com and bookmark zenny62.com. And as Kate Moose says, hope this gets built. I do too. I certainly do. It's the time is certainly right for it because, hey, now the A's have the land and they can go from there. All right. That will end this broadcast. Thank you so much. Oh, and also bookmark Oakland News Online.com.